Hey, welcome everybody to podcast number 60. We're trying out a new program here for the live broadcast. Hopefully everybody likes it. Some new features and stuff like that. Before we introduce everybody, we do have a sponsor of the month. All Star Bowling Sales has decided that they're going to help us out, and with their little bit of sponsorship, we're added features like this program and hopefully a few more things along the line. So I'm just going to play a quick commercial for them, and then I'll bring in the guys right after. So we have the regulars, Tim and Dexter Wiseman. We just lost Tim, Adam Weber, and our special guest of the week, owner of Bradson Promotional Group, Darrell Bradley.
Yes, I made it in.
Welcome. We'll bring Tim back in here for us.
Sorry.
Won't be the last time, right, Tim? Probably.
Well, I was just checking the chat thing getting it going, and I just logged myself out. Whoops.
Welcome to the show.
There you
go. So obviously, DB, we can't thank you enough for coming on. You've been a huge supporter of the Western Canadian Bowling Tour. You guys provide all the tour shirts and stuff like that. What is the future of Bradson Promotional Group on the competitive side? And we know you do lots of stuff with the rest of the associations in 5-pin bowling as well.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Good to be on. Appreciate you. You guys do an awesome job at all these podcasts and running the tour. So just happy to help in any way I can. Obviously, with Bradson Group, going my career building and starting off with doing uniforms for Edmonton 5-pin, 15 years ago, it's just a natural progression. And then obviously you guys all know Mark Johnstone and Johnny. He's the one who really spearheads the sublimated bowling shirts and the sponsorship sort of driven with through Bradson Group. So, I can't really take a lot of credit for that. Obviously, I'm happy to help and support, but really it's Johnny who does all the shirts and the towels and those things, and just kind of ends up writing he does the checks at the office. So he put the check in front of me and I'll sign it and say, here you go. Really happy obviously with you guys and the merchandise. I think that's a cool avenue that you're doing with the hats. I mean, two of you are wearing them right now. And you know what, happy to generate some extra revenue for you guys so that there's some money in the kitty for whatever you need to do. So I'm on board, for WCBT, for 5-pin bowling, for the long term. So we're always innovating and figuring out different ways that we can help. So that's just a small part. My company's been very lucky with the 5-pin bowling. So
yeah, for sure. You've been a huge part of the WCBT right from the start. So with Johnstone's help, we've created at least a big brand. And it seems like everybody's invested in it. They're willing to buy one or two shirts. It seems like every year you see new shirts come out on tour and all that good stuff. So
that's cool. I mean, not overplugging Johnny here, but he spends a couple hours every morning with all the requests coming in and the design. Everybody you want this left sleeve, you want this right sleeve, you want this back here. So he's working back and forth with the graphic designers for a ton of time. But it's cool, right? Like, a customer yesterday stopped by and picked up 7 shirts, right? And he makes these shirts really designed.
Right. Sorry, Davey, to stop you there. Your Wi-Fi seems to be dropping out on you there. You're enjoying the outside way too much.
Yeah. Not many times you get to go out there, so we'll send it when I can. Yeah.
A little comment here for Dexter. Are we going to see Captain Karate shirt this year? Maybe Bradson Promotional will bring that back.
Sure.
Zero chance.
Yeah. Whatever you need, bud.
Zero chance.
That's the cool thing, though, right? Like, you can put anything you want on these shirts.
Yep.
right? So get as creative and as neat as you want. I mean, when you all have, I mean, Dexter, you got yours that you just had from Chelsea, right? So that was a great one, and people are now sponsorship opportunities. So it's so cool coming to the tournaments, and people there's 50 shirts out there. I mean, it's really cool to see. So happy to get a little piece of that and do what we can.
Yeah,
it's been super neat because we've seen the progression over time with those shirts too. Because when they first came out, I think a few people were like a little apprehensive because the last thing you want to be is like, feel like you're the cocky guy who wants to like, have their names on the back, and then it progressed, and now it's something of pride. People love wearing them. People love showing them off. Everybody wants them. So it's really cool to see the progression of them. I'm excited.
Here's a question for you guys: is what shirts and when do you decide to wear them? On the Friday qualifying, Saturday, or Sunday? Like if you only have one shirt, do you save it for Sunday, or do you wear it Friday? Or so each of you take your turn there.
All right, so Darrell, I want to break your heart here. I don't wear any of them.
It's because you're too large for your shirts. So.
I don't wear any of them.
Yeah.
But if I did wear them, it would be for Sunday. If I did wear one,
which is the sole reason why he doesn't wear them anymore.
Yeah, I don't make Sundays. But the thing is, like, what's really cool is that you see over time, you see, like, you walk in the bowling center, you can see what people like, and their styles, and that. Obviously, Dexter has a really good style. I do like what he does with it, and the colors and the artwork he does. And Adam's a little bit darker. He likes his blues and whatnot, and then Kerry does, whatever he does, and he signs it off and gives it away later because it doesn't win for him, right? But it's pretty cool. Like you see a bunch of different personalities with their shirts, right? So yeah, I kind of enjoy that.
Yeah, if you're like Johnny McDonald, you can just buy secondhand ones for $20 instead of paying full price. So it works out great for the guys out in Saskatchewan.
Well, it's better than finding it in Value Village.
Adam, what about you? Do you wear a specific one on Friday and then a different one on Sunday?
Yeah, typically I made two myself. I kind of have my dedicated Sunday shirt, and then I'll at least try kind of my fun shirt, I guess, on like a Friday qualifier or a Saturday morning, depending on the weekend. And then I'll usually bring like a third shirt, whether it's like a national shirt or maybe like an Edmonton 5-pin shirt, because it's at least the same material that you're playing in all weekend. I'm pretty superstitious. I'll run with the same Sunday shirt to hopefully I make it.
Nice.
Staying on the kind of the same topic as your company here, Darrell, how has the COVID-19 situation affected your business?
It's tough, right? Like we've kept our doors open, and with the employees, I didn't make any adjustments to any sort of salaries, any of that stuff. I just wanted to hold on. I knew that there was government support coming. The traditional avenue of selling promotional items, your drinkware, your pens, your traditional T-shirt wasn't there. So I quickly had to adapt. So I saw a need in the market for branded bottles of hand sanitizer. Honestly, they're not coming in stock for a month or 2 months, but what I did is I just bulked up on a really large volume of them, and we've been piecing it together over the last month, offering it to clients. And what it's done is opened up the door to have that conversation with customers. How are they doing? And wishing them well, but also getting a chance to sell them something or provide them with some really good value on a branded bottle of sanitizer. We know that's coming. We know that's everybody will look to have it. So we'll keep doing that. And now I've got the washable face mask. Right, everybody's asking about this face mask. We're trying to figure out where we fit in the market for offering those types of things. It's uncomfortable. Business isn't rolling through the doors. I'm definitely 50% down, but hopefully we'll, manage it for a couple of months and come back better and stronger, and just I'll weather the storm. Right, it's the way we'll deal with it. It's tough. A lot of people in a lot worse situations than I am, though.
Yeah, for sure. It's nice that you have that opportunity that you can do that business kind of behind closed doors. Unfortunately, there's a lot of entertainment stuff. Obviously, bowling is one of them that just can't operate while their doors are closed, which makes it tough.
Yeah, I definitely feel for, all the proprietors out there. A lot of other businesses that have just said you have to close, like you're not allowed to open, and you're really trying to struggle. How do I create revenue? In my world, I've got millions of products, narrowed down to 2 these days, but at least I had that opportunity to keep earning and working, whereas a lot of people didn't. So I definitely feel for those guys that aren't, right. So I'd love to get back in there and bowling and support you guys as any ways we can, and whatever. Let's go.
Yeah. Are you expecting a giant wave? Like I imagine, like once the doors start rolling open, that people haven't been buying stuff for a couple of months. Are you expecting like a push then, or not really?
No, honestly, no. We're in constant communication with our clients, and hopefully non-invasive way that we kind of know and have a feeling of what's going on with their events. I don't feel like phase 1 you're open, all those customers are now going to order. It's phase 2, phase 3. No, it's going to be grind throughout the year, and just sort of find different ways of how we can be of service to different markets and different people. And if we have to get on the phone and start calling some people to ask for more business, then we will, right? But no, I'm definitely not expecting it's going to be back to normal and we're all good. It's fine, right? For sure.
We'll have to call you and ask about some masks and stuff here right away.
Yeah,
we're gonna need them.
Yeah, is that what you guys are thinking, or what? Have you heard anything about what your guys is putting on? I mean, obviously your face, but is that
nothing?
Well,
like basically no information at all.
No.
How about that plexiglass? Did you guys see that picture floating around today on Facebook?
That's crazy. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. I think that's just nuts.
Yeah.
Imagine, and I don't. But then you see the middle table is wide open, so you can share between the 2 tables between your plexiglass, right? I don't know.
And like even open play, they're going to be up on the lanes at the same time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, does it make a difference? I don't know.
I'm sure there's some information for, bowling specific proprietors, or maybe there's a channel that a group of you guys can get together, or maybe that's already happening, is try to find out, what would be some specific parameters that a bowling alley could operate within. I mean, look at golf courses. There was a group of them that all got together and lobbied for golf courses, and now they have this rules and helping guidelines around golf courses, right?
Well, that was something we kind of discussed last week with Shelby and Martin, part of Bowl Alberta, Bowl Canada.
Yeah.
What were they going to do to help their proprietors within their association to help provide guidelines? And Shelby said they were working on stuff. So hopefully they can provide some guidelines like you're saying.
Yeah, I would think that they would be, right? You've got some smart people at the leadership that hopefully that they're putting the pressure onto the people that need to be doing a little bit of advocating for you guys, right? So in due time, obviously you're not opening tomorrow, that, but maybe in a month that you can, and within from now to then, okay, here's what you need to do, or here's some of the things, and let the other people do the trial run before it comes to the rec facility, and then once you're green lighted, let's go.
Yeah. I'm hoping by that point that restrictions are reduced a little bit and it'll be good to go, because I mean there's no point in us opening up for 15 people.
No.
Right? So we'll see. I mean, every week is something different, and you push forward and you find something to do. It is no different than any other business, I guess, but figure it out as we go along.
Well, the golf certainly makes a lot more sense than anything indoors, right?
For sure.
Just having that type of space, open air and all that. And I think it's easier to regulate. That's where we're going to have all the issues. I think more indoor, especially like an 8-lane center, who I think probably could get away with like a 15, per person type limit. But I couldn't imagine like 16 lanes or Martin down at Bonnie Doon. Like it just makes zero sense to have that many people in there.
Yeah, I don't know what the next step would be. Like they're saying stage 3, and I mean stage 3 we're grouped in with concerts and stuff like that. I know Martin's wife, Tracy, who works for the Mayfield. They're banking on a September 1st start, right? And so if we're in the same group as them, that's a real hard pill to swallow, right? And then there's other ones like I was talking to somebody else who's part of entertainment. They said they're going to probably be laid off for 2 months, which makes sense. What we talked about, July start kind of thing. And I don't know. Like it's so up in the air. Like if you read BC's today, BC said their third or whatever their last phase is, and I think there's more than 3 phases, but their last phase you have to have a vaccine. So if we are the last phase out in BC, you can't. As far as I read, you're not going to be able to open a bowling center unless there's a vaccine.
I really don't think it's going to be that extreme because just look at the way I'd hate to say it, but we usually follow what the U.S. is doing, right? And the U.S. is really trending towards they're going to be opening up national events in July. So are you really think we're going to be 3-4 months behind them? I doubt it.
I don't know because we've actively been doing things directly different from the United States on purpose.
Not really. Like there's a few states that have been different, but we've followed the trend on most of the states' procedures.
Well, we just shut down way before they did. That's all.
What's any bowling alleys in the state opening? I mean,
Georgia's been open for a week and a half now.
And what rule?
Wide open, social distancing.
Yeah, but they also said that like I'm in a group with the BPA and stuff like that, and those proprietors are saying there's honestly no point in being open. Some of them are open, some of them aren't. The ones that are open are kind of getting some backlash, and there's hardly anybody in there.
Yeah, people are gonna restrain from it, right? But I guess you gotta weigh it. If you're a shareholder in your bowling center and you're the only one working, so you're the only one taking a wage, you might as well be open and have the 2 lanes running, right?
Yeah, I guess that's the question to the proprietors. What is the cost of operating your business, turning the lights on and turning the machines on? If it can be just Tim and Dexter and they're working and you have 8 groups of families, all 2 lanes apart, that'd be worth it, wouldn't it? Right? But like you said,
to an extent.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the question to all the guys, to even listeners. Like, what at what point is it worth it?
So, yeah.
So there's in Alberta for sure. I'm not sure if it's national, but there's subsidies up to like 75, or you have to lose 75% of your wages or 75% of your income profit from for businesses, and then you get the subsidies for it. So if you come in and you just squeak over that 25% threshold, are you better off? I don't know. Are you better off like not doing that and then getting the subsidies, or are you? I don't know.
I don't think you're better off taking subsidies because there's going to be a catch-22 on that. You watch. I think you'd rather be open, take your lumps, receive your income, and move forward with what you got.
There's only so many months you could do that, though.
Crazy comment there. You guys see that from Jeff England saying proprietors in the States have received death threats. I mean, that's obviously not cool. So
there's been people in Alberta with just small businesses receiving death threats for having doors open. It's not just entertainment, right?
No, I think that, if we're in phase 2, right, there's a whole sector that's already open in phase 1, close contact people. There's a whole now in phase 2 you're open. Maybe now you see, okay, let's phase 3, let's open, or phase 2, or somewhere in that middle ground. I mean, I think that once things going, I think that we'll get things going again. I think the biggest scare some people obviously is the second wave, right? Is that coming? When would that come? Does that mean that we shut down again and everything's back to lockdown? I mean, why do we even open?
My personal view on the second wave is I strongly believe if they wouldn't open us up, hopefully, for us to shut down again, the governments, I think with these health measures and everything else, I think obviously they're opening up thinking that our hospitals can be able to not be burdened and can go in a crisis now. Yeah. So I think the second wave might not be, I'm fingers crossed, you don't know. I'm not like a scientist or a medical professional, but I think the second wave, I think they wouldn't open us up if they're thinking the second wave would be deadly again, right? Or if they're not prepared, I guess you can say. Yeah. And I kind of hopefully believe in that, right? So have to start thinking positively, but it's so tough with everything going on, right?
Yeah, I mean, bless you guys and all the other companies that are in that position of not open at all right now. Like Jennifer said, there's some bowling centers have had to close down completely. I mean, that's the worst case, absolute worst case, and breaking for that, right? So I hope you can get going again, and we can all support the bowling centers again. We all miss it, that's for sure, boys.
So I guess we'll continue on Jen's comment. So Old Orchard shut down in BC, is that correct?
Correct.
And I'm not sure about the whole Elmira situation, but they obviously have closed their doors.
Yeah, that wasn't
not saying it's due to COVID, but
yeah,
you're seeing a lot of these centers that were already probably not in the greatest positions are forcing to shut down. The subsidy isn't even enough, right?
No.
Do you have a sense that there'll be more, just in your discussions?
For sure. I think so. I think there's been more people hurting than you think there is at the end. And I think September is it's the bread maker, right? September comes around, people start coming back. And if that is uncertain and it affects your meat and potato season between, September and April, I think it's going to be tough. I think there's going to have to be some creative ways of bringing people in or something, right? It has to be some cuts.
Well, it is if you're allowed to bring people in. That's my concern. I mean, it's gonna be tough for people to turn a profit when you're gonna have to run with twice the staff for half the people because you have people running around disinfecting, cleaning everything. You have one person handling the money. Who runs tangles, who cooks food. Like, I mean, we may have to have we'd have two people work for 8 lanes before. We're going to be at 4 people to work, 4 or 5 people to work 8 lanes. And then you still got to try to turn a profit on that. If you can only run at 50%, it's going to be really tough. So that really depends on how long that runs to. Because if that starts running into the high season, that's going to be tough.
Right. We're like you're saying, but there's also a 75% wage subsidy to help offset those extra people that you need to work. And students are 100% subsidy right now. So you should be hiring high school students.
Again, right? It depends on how much profit you make. If you make 50% of your normal profit, then you lose all that subsidies, and now you're really in trouble.
No, it's 75%.
It's 75.
I thought it was you had to lose 75%.
It's a 30% reduction.
Okay. Well, then that's helpful.
Yeah, as long as you're down. If you're down 30%, then you qualify for the subsidy.
Perfect. Then
right.
yeah. Then fingers crossed for sure.
And that's based on your January, February revenue too, the average of the two. So your January, February revenue should be through the roof.
Yeah.
Right. It should be your high season. So it should get you through the early part of fall, hopefully, right?
Yeah. We'll see. Let's see how long they run the subsidies for and go from there.
Yeah, it's banked till September right now, but that's going to be extended too, right?
Yeah.
And that's the crazy thing is that how do we keep as a government paying and providing subsidies and these things when let people work? I mean, obviously there's a safety, and I'm definitely worried about people's safety. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm part of me that says let's people work and earn money rather than keep providing subsidies and bailouts that my future great grandchildren will still be paying for.
Yeah.
For sure. We're gonna have PST in this province. I guarantee you.
And that's
Whoa,
increase GST.
Don't talk like that,
right? I don't know. Why don't you increase GST to 6%? It's 1%. It's national. I don't know. I'm not an economics major, but I'm just saying there's going to be something coming down the road.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's fine. Throw another % on there. Sure.
Right. We should move on to another topic. I don't want to be a reference here on our podcast. So Darrell, you've obviously been part of 5-pin bowling for a long time as a player yourself. Recently, you made the Edmonton men's team, unfortunately, without a chance to go to nationals. What do you think of the state of the game? Do you feel that it's changed quite a bit since you started playing? Where's it at?
Yeah, wow, good question. Deep, Gary, deep.
Always.
Yeah, honestly, the players now are so good that it's, in my mind, it's not even comparable to what the type of game it was, 20 years ago or 25 years ago, right? I mean, I'm not that old, but I've been around, I've been bowling for 30 plus years, right? And competitively for 25. It's a different world now. Maybe I see it more, and it's more forefront, and you see all the guys on the tour that are playing. But I mean, you look at the cut lines when you're thinking that you have to shoot 2,200 to make a cut. It messes with you, man. Honestly, back in the day, you'd be making cuts with 2000s, 2050s. I remember making, or KG Bowl, Saskatoon, 20 years ago. I missed 2 cuts in a row with 2098 one year. I think Ken Black, he, threw a quarter pin in his 12th to beat me by 1. And I was at the back of the ball. And, and then the next year, I think it was 21-15, right? And I was like, wow, this is pretty big. And I sat on both of those scores, right? There's no chance that anybody at any of these tournaments would be sitting on those scores, right? I mean, it's a cool vibe. I mean, guys are grinding and working, but you gotta shoot from the beginning and to make it. So, WCBT is a different level. I want you guys to continue to grow and to attract the best players from all over. Add the extra day on the Thursdays. You gotta make these as big as we can. So the state of the game competitively is very strong, right? It's from the Open. Carrie, you asked about that, how that felt. I've always been an Open player, right? That's been my jam. I'm not a Masters player, and honestly, I'm not a really great cash game player. But when it comes to making an Open, the 20 game sort of thing, there's something with me that I'm like, I just feel like I can make it every time. I just sort of know that I'm going to, right? So I was super stoked to play this year. Like, it was, I've had some really great teams over the years, so I can get into that. But, honestly, first time I'd actually play on a team with Tim and Dexter was really exciting to look forward to. With Schultz, and had a great looking team. Bradley, I was really excited, Aaron, to play, and just be a part of the team and have Lynn as a coach. Obviously, I wasn't going to put a ton of pressure on myself with the crew that we had, but it's disappointing, But
yeah,
good, and let's keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, it was, and like, what, you came back this year and you were like super committed to being super competitive, and you grew a lot this year too, like right from the start, like all the way through. You've been trying new things, and we've had lots of fun discussions about stuff. And it was super cool to see you come out and make that team, and we were really looking forward to playing with you. Hopefully we still get to play.
We will. Good point on that, Dex. Like, the game's changed so much that I had to start to learn what balls do different things, the lane conditions. And you guys are the ones that has pushed that for everybody, is to have to think about the game a bit more and what sort of, products that you're using. You look at Dexter, he's the 1 second approach. So I did that one Sunday night, and I shot 1280 for 4, and I was like just up on the lane and going. So I figured I'm going to do the hurry up game, right? Just not as much thought process, not as much Adam and Tim standing up there for 2 minutes before to throw a ball. I used to be a bit slower, but I've tried to speed it up, a different backup, using my soft roll this year, whereas I was always my star line guy, right? Just pound it down the middle. And, a slider, honestly, the approaches at Sure Park make a huge difference for a guy like me. With a good slide, and my knees aren't hurting and my back's not hurting. So to be able to have a center that I was really happy with being able to, slide on, easy, right? It was, it took that part of the game out of it, that we could, start to learn the different things and play with the angles and play with these things, which is cool, right? So.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice to see somebody come out to league and like use it and like try new things, and because it's important, and so many people just get stuck in the same thing and don't try things. It's you never know when you're going to need it, right? So it was fun. It was nice having those conversations with you.
Yeah.
To keep bombarding you with questions, Darrell, might as well keep this going. There was a bit of a controversial Open decision made a few years ago in Lloydminster. Derek Holm took you out of Calgary, took you as a coach for his singles spot. Did you feel, honored to be asked from a different zone, or was it, were you a little leery to go down to the pit with him since he was from a different zone?
Yeah, honestly, I can't remember who all was in the step ladder. I know Wilton obviously was at the end. I don't remember if there was an Edmonton player in there. I think I was coaching that year, or was I playing that year? No, I was playing.
You were playing.
I was playing on the mixed team. I had coached a couple years before the Northern team and also the Edmonton team. And, guys, obviously I've been around for enough time that you guys know my mentality, and I've, sort of tried to be a bit of a, cool head and leader around and a bit of a coach sort of thing and see that stuff. So I was super honored when Derek asked me. I was, it wasn't a hard decision. Sure, man, I'll support you and I'll help you. I mean, you're asking me and you want to go win, let's go do it. When we sat down the pit, I wasn't going to tell him technical things. So we just started having a chin wag. Like, honestly, I think that Derek would even say, I said, what's your favorite meal from Kentucky Fried Chicken? Right. And he looks at me like, really? We talking about this? I'm like, well, what else did you bring me down here for? Right. We were just having shooting the shit and just keeping him calm. But I asked him obviously a couple of things like, Derek, what's the last thing you want to hear? Right. What are some of the, encouraging words to say? Right. So, he let me a couple of those things and it was easy. And it was to help him and to stand behind him and let's go Big D. Come on, Big D was his last thing. Right. And we were there for him. And obviously he'll tell the story about, sparing the split when he comes back and looks at me. He's like, what do I do? I'm like, you spare the thing. That's what you do. Right. And obviously Wilton, sad for him, but very happy for Derek. Right. And it was cool. I mean, I think that, should open that up, that you don't have to go to the same person or your same coach. You can go off the rails and go and get anybody you want, right? Or, you maybe don't have to be right in the pit with you, but I mean, there should be some more flexibility in my mind on who do you bring down as a singles coach to the pit.
Well, right? Especially since our bowling community is so close knit, right? And I find us getting more and more close knit every year. So I mean, we're going to all these tournaments, the WCBT and Masters and whatnot, and we see all these people all the time. And there's certain people that you just connect with better. I don't see a problem with it. I mean, considering we're all friends, and the singles is an individual thing, anyways. I mean, sure, you're still representing your zone, but. It's still an individual thing. I think that's great.
I think if you guys were playing against them, I don't think you'd have a problem with it either. I'd probably be the choice to you first. Hey, Dex, you're going to be playing. You're in the step ladder. Who are you taking for a coach, or have you thought about that? And you'd be, Lynn or Mike or, whoever else, Len or whoever, right? And okay, that's fine. And then I would ask you. I think I would have even said, do you have a problem if I go down with Derek?
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody, most guys wouldn't say no.
So no. It kind of happened between me and Adam last year, right? Last year, yeah, it was. Adam, obviously, I knew he wanted Lynn because him and Lynn had a good connection, and he's always about superstition, and he's always won with Lynn. So I don't know why I gave him that choice, but
I would beat you with anybody, definitely.
Well, yeah, at that point, yes. But I picked Mike, and obviously Michael Cousier was. Playing on Calgary, but I mean, he has really strong ties from Edmonton, and we had no issues with our team picking that. Honestly, I can't even tell you. Had Desiree and I had Jerry Anderson, right? And I'd never had much experience with them, to be honest with you. If I was picking another coach, right? And I think Dexter had the same issue, right? Because Dexter was on the step ladder too, I believe, right? He was the fifth. So I don't know. I think Len was your choice. I think
was he?
And I think
for which year? Last year?
Last year, yeah.
I think you had North in there. I had Calgary, and we had Edmonton representing 3 Edmonton singles, right? You're right. With the tour and everything, we travel all together, and I don't think anybody really has an issue with it. Maybe 10 years ago, Darrell, I think it'd be a huge issue, right? 10 years ago, people would be like, "Why are you picking that?"
It was close to 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was probably maybe 20, Tim.
Well, what was there controversy?
I don't think there was controversy.
Yeah. Okay, so there's a little inside information. There was people buzzing about it.
They what's that?
There was people talking about it. I'm not going to name
why. Why are they allowing that? That's not fair.
pretty much.
I mean, really? Did I get Derek home to win it? Let's be honest. He's the one throwing the shots, right? Sure, you're keeping him calm, but it's. There was a time that you probably weren't. I mean, you see Mark saying that. So I think the flexibility of the rules need to be allowed. If you're in a step ladder, you should be allowed to choose whoever you want. And I don't even know if there's the level 1, level 2 intro to comp, how that all works anymore. I think that if you make yourself to a step ladder, you got you got full right to bring a buddy down to the pit if you want.
For sure.
Right.
Darrell, I think the biggest problem was Central wasn't part of the step ladder, and Carrie's is a little bit upset about it.
Maybe.
No, just kidding. Just kidding,
Wow.
dude.
Anyways,
now we got controvery.
Controversy. No.
I don't understand your comment. I wasn't in the stepladder. What did I care?
just kidding.
but that's the progression of the sport and the people, right? You should be able to do that, right? We can.
Well, and quite frankly, if my options are rather limited because other coaches are going elsewhere, and I don't feel comfortable with any of those other people, I'd rather be down the pit by myself than be down there with somebody who might actually be a hindrance to my game. And quite frankly, I've played against people where I know coaches have been a hindrance to their game, and it makes it easier for me, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
I think if you can just keep the mindset on something just really like generic, it doesn't even have to be on the bowling itself. From a coach's point of view, like I had Mike Lacusse in Regina a couple of years back. I think I was playing the extra shift to try to get in to the main event, and we didn't talk bowling once.
Yeah.
And I ended up shooting like 1,060 or something like that. We never talked about bowling. Just get up there, throw a ball, come back. I think we were just talking about his hockey or something like that. So I knew it was all BS anyways. But it was, it's so important just to kind of keep an even keel. And really, I don't even think it matters who's in your pit more often than not, because you're so focused on just the moment. And the coach should just be just kind of keeping you comfortable.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah.
So go ahead, Tim.
No, I was just saying you just have to be a little bit selfish sometimes. Yeah.
There's a question in the chat from Chris Reddy. He's asking, are you allowed to bring your own coach to a tournament? And he's kind of referring to the WCBT. It's a singles event. I don't think anybody would care if you brought a person to help you out. Obviously, you don't want them on the lane instructing you while you're competing, but behind in the pit, I don't feel that there is anybody that would say boo, and if they do, there's no rule against it. So obviously that's more than fair.
Most coaches aren't right behind you on the approach line, doing that, at a tournament, but there's lots of coaching going on at WCBT events, right? Like Adam just said, you just sat with the mic, and had a comfortable feeling with them. I mean, lots of you guys probably have that. You find yourself in a rhythm, having good conversations, might be talking bowling, might not be talking bowling, but guys are helping you through scenarios and helping you through things, right? There's all kinds of that, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is just fine.
That's also why it's growing as a sport and a community at this level, because we are all able to chip in and offer advice, and it's a comfortable community. Back in the day, it was so cutthroat.
Wouldn't you say, think about some of your better experiences with a coach or with somebody that you didn't actually talk about bowling, right?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, that's 100% my game. Like I'm down there. I don't talk about bowling. I'm sitting there just like talking stupid shit pretty much all the time. And I spend my entire time just chatting with people because I'll focus for my 3 seconds at the back of the lane and then go up and throw my ball. But otherwise, if I sit down there and I just try to sit and talk about bowling nonstop, I'm screwed. Game over.
Do you guys see maybe possible paid coaching becoming a thing with WCBT growing so much? A lot of money's involved. There's a lot of investing going on. Do you feel that some people might be starting paying for coaching and getting lessons on the side to help bring their game up the extra 10, 20 pins that they need to make these cuts?
Like a golf pro?
I could see it for the Tour Championship. Right, having a little bit more of a dedicated session. You see it in the World Series of Poker all the time, right? Once you end up, or at least before, you had the November 9, and it was a couple months after the other event, you'd actually get paid professionals helping you out. Right now, I'm not sure the money's quite there. Like I think we're on the cusp to really breaking out into that. But I know for a fact that there is a lot of chatter that does go along, especially in those last couple months before Tour Championship.
Mm-hmm.
I think there should be. That's a great question, Kerry. I mean, that'd be awesome for coaches to be able to. I don't think it's about the money. I think it's more about the respect and being asked to support somebody specifically. Hey, can you come to Regina, or can you come to Calgary with me and help me with my weekend and through my game? And for that, I'll pay for your hotel room or whatever, man. They just more specifically just asking, hey, Dexter, we've been talking lots. Can you focus on my game for this shift and stay and hang out with me and chinwag with me and see if I need a glass of water and, some of those things, that would be cool. That if there was a coach's pool that, or you could hire somebody or, I don't know what that looks like, but, that would be cool that, these are coaches that are respected in the game, but also from a tour's perspective.
Well, it's been such a volunteer's position for so long that it'd be nice to give them something back for not only, I guess I shouldn't say only coaches that go to the courses, because there's obviously a lot of great coaches that have never been to a course. They just understand the game and stuff like that. But that dedicate their time to do this stuff. Yeah, maybe they get some happiness from it if they win a medal or something like that. But let's be fair, everybody deserves something for their time. And there's a lot of coaches on teams that teams really don't care if the coach is there or not. And it might be a big waste of time for them.
So my question is, in leagues, you've got some pretty good leagues that are out there, and there has been in the past. And, I know what Regina has their cash, their leagues, and Ontario. And why is there not coaches at these leagues? So our Sunday night match here at Sherwood Park, there's 48 bowlers, Tim?
Yeah.
But here's the two coaches. So if you want to go and talk to them, go and talk to, Ernie or Jim, right? And if you want to, you can engage with them. But have we ever thought about having coaches at leagues, as a volunteer or as a paid, part of your prize money or part of your league money, right? Then you have a specific opportunity to go and speak to a coach. Obviously, he shouldn't be down the lane, going from lane to lane, telling everybody what to do and how to do it. But, there's an opportunity to engage with coaches.
Yeah, actually, you got the ice cream man there, Darrell.
There it goes.
I actually don't mind that idea at all, especially for like our mixed leagues. I think that'd be great. There's a lot of people who'd like join for the first time, and they're not super comfortable. They don't know what to do. We run some clinics for them every once in a while, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to have a coach there every other week where you can, if you want to bounce some ideas off of, you can go and do that. I don't mind that idea at all. We're pretty open with our league bowlers. We're like, hey, like if you have questions or whatever, come up and see us, and we'll take a quick look at you and see what we can point out, then wander away. But that's like that.
Have the average bowler, the 150 to 170 or less, asking you guys. They might be a little bit more intimidated to come asking Dexter and Tim and Adam on a Thursday night, right? But if that Coach DB's hanging out and around, you might have a guy who want to come over and, hey, like, can you just watch me for a couple of frames? Yeah, sure, bud, right? But they don't want to interrupt you because you're bowling. You know what I mean?
A couple trains of thought, Darrell. First of all, you look more like a pro than Dexter and I would. I mean, you're a little bit more in shape. You look like a girl golf pro clipper, me and Dexter, but we don't fit in that.
Bowlers make better bowlers, Tim. We've already discussed this.
I think Dex and I obviously are a little bit more approachable than an Adam would because they know us there, right? It's a little bit different.
Sure.
But I want to throw this out here, and I don't know. Kerry can probably attest this more because he follows it more than I do. But for 10 pin, when you go to these tournaments, right? They have coaches, but I think it's based off their like Storm or Brunswick or those guys, right? That's what I foresee this thing as more than just somebody coming around. I mean, 5 pin and 10 pin are two totally different games, but that's where I see this at, right? I mean, I can see like a rep or somebody that's there to help out, something like that. That's how I see it more than anything.
That'd be super neat. So, like, here I am, like, sponsored by Dexter Shoe Company, and so is Carey. And I mean, even like though like he's not as competitive these days, but let's say Lynn is the coach, so he's sponsored by Dexter Shoe Company, and he follows around and he helps those guys out, while Adam and Tim are sponsored by Lynn's or something like that, or Big Rock or something, and then like have their coach do that.
Yeah, like Tim was saying, on the 10-pin side, they're ball reps. So they go around and they watch ball reactions and stuff like that. And they say, well, that ball is doing something. So here's another ball that will give you a little bit different look, right? So they're trying to improve what you're doing. And maybe that is something that comes along. Obviously, 5-pin bowling won't have ball reps because the companies just don't seem to care that much about the game. They just like selling the rock, and then you use it for a lifetime like Adam does.
But hey, time out. I saw a photo this week, and I think I sent it to you boys. Pederitis, 146 balls. 146 balls, and that wasn't the whole photo. I saw on the duck pin site. I'm like, are you kidding me? I was like, I'm lucky to use 2. Like Adam's lucky to use 2, right? That's crazy.
Somebody had to bring me a beer.
Good service. Yeah, Greg Pederice has got quite the collection, and he does a lot of trading and stuff. Like I do believe he's trying to fill his collection. It's not like he has a bunch of doubles and stuff like that. It's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys probably know also more about these balls than a lot of people, is the soft roll, the hard rolls, the star lines, all these things. And it's mind blowing to me. And I've been playing for a long time. You wonder if you should make some sort of a chart, or maybe that's all-star bowling. Make something that's an easy to read, chart. Maybe they already have that, right? Same with shoes, type of thing. Like make something that's really easy for people to understand. People might try, right?
So you don't have the legends telling you, oh, it does this, when it's like, no, it's clearly not even close to what that does.
Yeah.
And these lanes, all your lanes that we're playing on, I mean, they're different than the old wood lanes.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah, that's something Carey and Jeff Young and I are going to be doing right away.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Shout out a couple old boys. Jimmy Norcus, I saw him on there, right?
Yeah.
I got a story about a great nationals at the Open, Jimmy Norcus. And then I saw a guy, Curtis Voss. He's actually a guy from Sherwood Park here too. And he is a bowler. His mom bowled at Sherwood Park for many years. Remember Shirley Voss, boys? And so Curtis, there you go. Chiming in, bud. You got on the show too, huh?
And Lenny, we're not ignoring you. We understand all your coaching is perfect from all the sponsors that you were shouting out.
Yeah,
we appreciate it.
Yeah.
But we do have a question for Dexter's Rulebook Corner, and we're going to put it up here. It's regarding the stick as it's been cued. Is it a foul if the stick goes over the line with the ball, or does the ball have to be released before it crosses the foul line?
A legally delivered ball is a bowling ball that is delivered legally when, by manual means, it leaves the bowler's hand or prosthesis and crosses the foul line into the playing area. So it has to leave before the foul line. Or
you can't touch the lane bed while it's in contact with the ball, correct?
Yeah.
But you can follow through.
You can't. The stick should not be touching the ball past the foul line.
There you go. That is from Dexter's Rulebook Corner. That is law. You can crop this video and share it with whoever you need to. That is official now.
Yeah.
So DB, obviously you kind of touched on your coaching and stuff like that, but we're going to give you some special guest questions that we ask all our guests.
Yes.
And we'll see what you can come up with here for us. So who's your mentor growing up?
Ooh, good one. Honestly, if I'm going to go first shout out back to early on in the days of bowling YBC, would be Ernie McClellan, right? Him and I, he just was technically very far advanced, and I was able to really learn a lot from some of those guys back then, the coaches early on. The Ernie and the Jim, Bradshaws, Rocky Morrows, Wally Bridget's, YBC days back then. Dave Urban's.
Oh, I might have lost you there, DB.
Lynn Howell, Bruce Mortar. Lynn Howell, Bruce Mortar, Gino Zebars, right? Lynn and Bruce were a different level, right? Tom Stevenson was our age. Tom, when he worked at Sherwood Bowl, I would have been 18, right? 17, 18, 19 in there, right? So pretty inspiring to have a guy like that here working next to you. And I think that we had a bet one year on who was going to average higher bowling. And soon we learned that Tom knew how to juice the lanes for his own little slow little roller all the way in. But so he did okay there. But
Tom got city high average that year, didn't he? Like 272 or something?
Yeah, I think so. So those, those formative years were the guys that I looked up to, right? Some good fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you've obviously touched on this a little bit. I'm assuming the Open is your favorite tournament, but do you have a favorite tournament on the tour or something other than the Open?
Yeah, so I would say the Rose Bowl, right? And now the TPC would have been mine. Again, just being Edmonton, right? It's home-based. You felt like you're sort of always having an advantage playing at home. I think probably even my best finish in a cash tournament would have been down to the fours on each side at Bonnie Doon, right? Or TPC would have been like the two of them. I don't think I've ever made it to the semis on either side. But those would be mine too. And now again, having the TPC at Sherwood Park, put me in for all 5 shifts. I kind of want to make it just because it's home, right?
Right.
It's the way it is.
Kind of building on that, you started a family and they're getting a little bit older. Do you foresee seeing yourself coming back to the WCB Tour a little bit more often, or is it still going to be fairly occasional, mostly a TPC show?
Yeah, it's tough, right? You have to. I like to play in everything and every weekend and everything if I could, but obviously reality doesn't. You can't do that. I do see myself playing more events. It was really nice to come to Regina this year. Seeing the Clarks out there was super cool to be able to see what this whole Regina tournament is about. Of course, we've heard about it, even 20 years ago about Regina, right? So I never got a chance to do it back then. So that was my first time here. The Autumn Open, I really, I used to like. I don't honestly like it because of the size of Paradise. I'm a bit more of I like bigger space. Really cool, people that run the place, Mark and whatnot. It's a little bit confined for me, and I really haven't had a ton of success. And it being Thanksgiving, you're right. Like I do have a family, and I've got in-laws, and I've got, everybody wants to, sort of see me, and I wanted to see them too. I've spent a lot of time on Easter weekends not around, so it seems like every long weekend I'm not there. But I do want to play more. And if there was more tournaments, then I'd make every effort, right? So we'll try to play them all now and just sort of work my schedules. And honestly, I was coaching so much soccer for both my girls for a lot of years, 7-8 years, and I was coaching 5-6 nights a week. It was fun and loved every minute of coaching, but I missed the competitive side of bowling, and that's why both of them decided to take a step back this winter, so I didn't coach. So I quickly jumped to playing on Sunday night, and I begged him get me a spot because that was my old place that I used to play back in the day was Sunday night match play, right? There were some cool guys back then that used to play as a kid. So, I'm happy to be back. I don't know if I'm back full, but we'll see. I got more to learn and more to watch you guys and to keep trying to get better. I don't honestly, I hate missing a cut. It's the anger comes out, and that's why I took a big break, is because I got angry, right? And that it's not a good feeling. So
it's getting tough when there's 150 quality players out there and only 30 of them make them. You get slim pickings out there.
Darrell, you have an infamous shoe toss video out on the WCBT, so,
you do.
So we understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, well, guys, that's why I took a break from it, right? Tim, you guys saw me on Sunday night match play. I would take my shoes off after the second game, and I'd bowl in my socks for 2 games, like weeks in a row.
Yeah,
that's not a good sportsmanship. And and I'm taking time off, and I'm supposed to be the president of the Edmonton 5-pin and on the Alberta 5-pin, and here I am doing this. I went through the phase, of course, punching things and kicking things, and that's not cool either, right? I mean, you have broken hands to deal with that, and so it's time to grow up, and I guess kids do that to you. So
yeah, for sure. So, do you have a best match or a favorite match that sticks out in your memory?
Ooh, I don't know if I've got individual matches. I've honestly, most of my really good memories are, there's a good one, Palmer. Thanks, bud. If first year of the invitation, I had a couple of pops before I did that, but honestly, I had some really good teams and group matches. I don't really recall a specific me against you kind of a match. Maybe Heather Ochar in the TPC at Collingwood, and we were on the consolation side, and I think it was like 360 to 350, and I was like, I beat her, and I was like, thing. But it was more team thing for me, right? So individual matches and great groups of guys going and fighting together. Those are my biggest memories that I take with the sport, right? So.
Right. So obviously you're not big into bowling balls and all that stuff, but we want to know what's in your arsenal. What are you throwing and what are you wearing?
Yeah, so I wear the SST8s and a long slider. I think it might even be a 10. Henry Schutz gave it to me. A little plug there, pal, on the Invitational that I fell, Palmer. And I fell. The slide for me is important. I got to have a big slide, right? And a good there. I like wearing shorts when I bowl, right? It's I ripped a few too many pairs of jeans in my growing years.
You got to learn, when you start getting fat, you got to start wearing stretchy jeans.
Man, it's brutal. And usually t-shirts, a polo shirt, but my bowling balls that I'll use as a Starline, my old red Starlines,
the sweet peas,
and the sweet peas, yeah, and then my soft rolls, right? So they're different size, 5-inch are the Starlines, and a bit more bullish. There's not a lot of movement on those things. I have little markings on the ball. I'm sure everybody does. Little markings that you got to hold it in the exact same spot every time.
For sure.
I'd like to try a bunch more bowling balls to see what they would do for the game, right? And I don't really want to change my line and my approach, but I'm okay with trying a couple of different balls if it just snaps a little bit or if it does something.
I'm sure if you ask me and Dexter, we probably have pretty much most of the different kinds if you want to try them out.
Yeah, well, and that's once bowling happens again, we should be getting groups of guys together that you can just have a free-for-all and practice sessions. I think that's something you can not enough people practice, right? You guys, the proprietors, are lucky that you have the time that you can go and throw some balls, but you know what? You're probably not. But not enough of us go and practice. I mean, you guys have leagues 5 nights a week, and then you're on to a weekend. So I know I'm talking about practice. Yeah,
exactly. I know I probably missed some questions there, Adam. Not sure if you're up on them, if you want to ask them the ones that I've missed.
Yeah. Is there anything left on your bucket list?
Well, yeah. I mean, national titles, right? As a team, I'd love to win a singles. I'd love to play for part of the, an open singles, right? Would be awesome. I'd like to make a Masters team. Love to be WCBT. I mean, let's start with making a cut again, right? And then, see how far I can make a run, right? I'd be happy, honestly, if I can consistently make 3 out of 4 cuts a year. Other than that, I don't need to win a tournament. Sure, it would be a great thing on the bucket list, but I'm not going to get ahead of myself here. Let's make cuts and be a guy that, can be expected to make the cuts. And that's what I want to be, right? I want to be respected as a guy he's in there. He's ready to go.
As a touring guy that has a shot to win each time you go out there. Yeah, for sure.
Right?
I think that's everybody's main goal, right? You want to be the guy that people are watching during that shift. They're like, okay, if I can keep pace with that guy, I have a good shot at making the cut. And
right.
Yeah,
I mean, you could do the stats on the last 5 years of people who make cuts. there's probably 5 guys or a handful more that have made every single cut, right? And then there's probably, well, I don't know, Kerry, I'm asking you, are there guys that have never?
I don't think there's one.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible with me because I haven't, and I'm sitting at the top.
Right.
And I know Adam's missed one, maybe two. Mitch maybe.
But he hasn't played all of them, right?
Yeah, but he's made everyone he's played.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
He made 16 out of 18 cuts, made 15 out of 16 cuts. There's a handful, but there's not a lot. So it'd be cool to be a guy that at least makes 50% of your cuts, right? I think that'd be a starting point. And then, a few things left to do in this, right? Yeah. I'd like to see bowling get big too. That would be a bucket list, right? Just to sort of get some TV and some of that sort of going again, right? It'd be another level for you guys.
I think that actually segues really nicely into another question. What do you see as kind of the next level of the sport, or what can still be improved in your mind? You've been on so many boards. You've seen the back end of it all. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I think you're heading in the right direction. I think you're doing great there. Honestly, I don't know the day-to-day inner of how much you're emailing, trying to contact TSN, which I'm sure is every day. I don't know. Obviously, there's some sponsorship side of things that would be great to get some added sponsorship. For me to judge and to tell you what you need to do without really knowing exactly what you're doing would be tough to say. I know that you're doing the right thing and you're on the right track. You just need that one lucky bounce that somebody's going to say, yes, let's do it. If there's a way that I can help with some of those conversations, obviously I'm blessed that I do know a fair amount of people out there, both in the business and in the political and in the sporting side. I think that we might need to get to the point of having some direct conversations and asking for it. And if they tell you no, okay, why? And then, keep doing the thing that you're doing here. From a tournament standpoint, you've only got 5 events. It'd be great to see that one come in, Manitoba, right? So now you've got 6 events. Is there an opportunity to run smaller circuit events? It's a Saturday night event, or it's a Thursday night event, or it's a little stats, little things, right, for the bowlers. But they don't cost them money to come and play and do, right? You got a ton of competitive bowlers here in Edmonton. How can we get them to play more often, right? You have little regionals, I don't know. It's something I'd love to chat with you guys more about and to see how I can help, and if there's something that we can put together to really see if we can get this from you're, like I said, you're already doing a good job. You're already on the right track. But it's probably something that needs to be formulated on how to make this a lot better, right?
Yeah, that's definitely been in the conversations a lot, is how could we introduce like the ATP 500 when we have majors going on? Is there a feasibility behind it and stuff like that? It's so tough for the WCBT to start introducing all these little tournaments to help promote like your regional players and stuff like that. When you got Masters 3 times in the bowling season, you got Open qualifying, you got interprovincials, you got all these other smaller association tournaments that are running that all these league players get to play. It's part of their cost or whatever that situation. It would be hard to bump those and create conflicts with those other associations just to grow the more scratch side of things. I think there's a market for it. Do you step on toes and push your agenda forward to promote the competitive side? I don't know.
I think that's what you need to do, is define what it is that you want to be, right? And then you go and do what you want to do rather than catering to everybody else. Perhaps there are some partnerships with the organizations, the associations, the Masters, the Bowl Canadas, have those conversations been had? Is there a gap to bridge there? Calling Paul Oliveira. They all know what WCT is doing, but they definitely know what the WCBT doing, and I think that all the guys down east with the club tour, they know as well. It's just a big country, and how do we define that? So
what if they're not conflicting and they're working in conjunction?
Great.
You know,
Yeah, right.
like I mean, like for regionals, if you're talking about regionals, you know, if you're a WCBT member, you play the Open, you play the Masters, you know, you finish top spot, you could keep, you know, you can keep one regional tournament or two regional tournaments, and you know they max out at like 40 points or something like that. Maybe you know somebody who plays the Open and does well at the Open might be interested in playing in a WCBT event because they'd be getting points from the Open from their local area. Maybe we could work together with the organizations and rather than conflicting.
The club tour piggybacked with the Masters for a while out there, right? And I think that's feasible, and to some extent. I don't see it being unreasonable for some things. I think honestly, I think some events might benefit more adding other things in, right? I'll be honest with you. And this is just me personally speaking, and I obviously have feelings with all associations. I don't think Bowl Canada is the right option for it, to be honest with you, or Bowl Alberta. I think there's too many hands in the pot when it comes to proprietors wanting a piece of the pie, I think this is where the tour is really good. We have some really good dedicated volunteers that work well together, and the centers work really well together, and those centers that are wanting to be part of it. And I think are for the game, right? And I think there's a I think there's going to be. I'm just worried about that aspect, right? I think there's certain centers like I know Heartland Bowl is a great sponsor, and that if we had like a ATP 500 thing you're talking about there, Kerry, that would make total sense.
Yeah, I think that would be more geared towards those 8-lane centers and stuff like that. You could have those regional events or whatever at those centers. You could do a 2-day tournament with a step ladder at the end or something to that effect where you could film it, you could produce it. Like it wouldn't take much, right?
So
but it's finding a weekend for
obviously
that. Right?
You guys are all volunteers, right? The full board, WCBT.
100%.
When do you decide we're going to hire somebody and pay them, but now we're going to have accountability, right? Go and get sponsorship. So you know what, Kerry, we're going to pay you $5,000, but your duties, you have to go get $10,000 in sponsorship, right? But you have an accountability now to it, right? I mean, by having a paid position, you have to have certain sets of metrics and accountability and performance reviews, and that's what you put the application out is that. And part of that person is they're responsible for X, Y, Z, and all these things, right? So that would take you to the next level of having a fund development manager that's responsible for growing sponsorship, right? And you don't get paid unless you bring money in. That's just the way it works, right? But you have other responsibilities, and you're responsible for creating revenue opportunities, right? For them.
Well, DB, I can tell you right now, if I had a different job, I would be fired because I spend so much time on the WCBT side of things, not alone the 5-pin universe side of things. I'm lucky that I have a job that I can bounce emails in and out whenever I need to. But like if I was working anywhere else, it's crazy the amount of volunteer time that is put into keeping the WCBT rolling the way it is and introducing new avenues like 5-pin universe media and trying to create a bigger audience that really is the struggle of 5-pin bowling, right?
Yeah, but I say, at what point, Kerry, are you going to burn out and you can't do it all for a volunteer anymore? There needs to be some sort of an honorarium or a wage. And I'm not saying, $50,000 or $100,000 to, replace your other one, but maybe there's $1,000. But hey, Kerry, we're going to give you $1,000, but we want all of this to be done, right? So as an organization, WCBT might want to think about how can we start to really hold accountability and have somebody do the work for you, because you guys are burning yourselves out. I look at Mark and myself, all the boards and all the associations and all the side time we put in, and we put in so much time into it, but we get tired, man. And there's a lot of people before us and out and across the country that put a lot of time and volunteer time in, and it's not about getting paid, but man, it sure would be if you put something into place. It's a depreciation, right?
Yep, for sure.
And if WCBT wants to go, then that might be something that you want to look at, is having a fund development manager, right? That is responsible for $250 at a time, right? Building a 10 grand kitty, right?
Yeah, that's obviously has to be the next step where the WCBT can become sustainable through the sponsorships, the advertising that it is producing for. Because let's be fair, like the WCB Tour Championship was probably the best thing that could have happened for the tour, but it's still only one televised event. Like we gotta progress and be able to produce the finals at TPC, produce the finals at Red Deer, and create more shows, because you wait all year long for one set of shows. It's a lot of work for that. And I think that's where advertisers are like, well, all this money for one time a year is kind of tough, right?
I mean, you guys are live streaming all the tour events, but can you not edit some of the events? Can you have a host doing interviews at each of the events? Can you have biopics and somebody that's in the background even doing the editing, right? Yeah. But that's what I'm saying, is that you hire somebody and part of their responsibility is creating revenue and running the events that same day, right? So a bit more of that structure type of thing. There's something, right?
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, most of us on the board are competitors, so we want to be the ones on the shows and stuff like that. So we're trying to stay focused and play while doing all that. But like, it's the old saying, Darrell, it's a catch-22. You need money to make money, right? So I definitely hear what you're saying. That is definitely the next step. It's just finding volunteers to help set that up where this can become a possibility is going to be the next step. But it's definitely moving in the right direction.
You're definitely doing a good job, guys. Maybe there's, I know you're doing your board and you have those, the budgets and the numbers, and I know Blair's wonderful and Eisenhower and everybody. So you're on the right track, right? If there's ever any advice that you'd wanted from my experience, because I've had a bit of experience. I'm not saying that I know anything. I don't want to stand here and preach either, right? Don't get me wrong, but I'm happy to lend my support and my help in any way that I can. And if there's some sponsors that you can get to promote it more, we should be promoting and doing an event or a video for each one, right? So, but
see, my hard part is like everybody talks about sponsorship, right? And the problem with I love you guys all, but sponsorship just doesn't come easily, right? We gotta
trust me, I know too.
Right, and I like it's everybody thinks it's the easiest answer to things, but it's the toughest one, right? And I don't know whether that's. I think the biggest thing is obviously social media, getting shares, likes, follows. I mean, I know it's just the 5P universe, but we gained over 250 likes this week, right? We already 25% we raised up. But I think that's where people start seeing the demographics and the values in that. So like when people are following along, you guys have to like and share and do all that kind of stuff. It helps us with that. Because it's like Darrell said, like it's tough going to a sponsor and be like, hey, you want to sponsor me? It's like, well, what do you have? Like, let me see your numbers, right? So it's easier for everybody to say, hey guys, sponsorship's great, but we got to figure out, and you guys got to help us and bowling, right? It works together on trying to get these numbers for everybody.
Yeah, you got to have, I'm sure you do, right? Is the level, the friends of the tour, bronze, silver, gold, all these things, and you have those, right? And different levels of trying to create revenue,
Yeah, exactly. But social media is obviously the biggest part of all this. Like Tim said, we grew our audience quite a bit this last couple of weeks, ever since we decided to go live and do a lot of this push. We have almost 1,300 people supposedly liking, following our page, but we get 20 shares, 40 likes. Like this is where we need our audience, people that are supposedly invested in this media source or the WCBT, to help promote that. I know if anybody goes to my Facebook profile, they're probably disgusted because it's all bowling, it's all WCBT, all 5-pin universe. But unfortunately, that it is sickening, but that's what it takes to get it in the forefront and try and move it along, right?
So something Yeah, something Dexter and I tried last week was we did that center thing, right? And we gained a lot of traction off that, a lot of views. And again, like, love you, Dex. Thank you for doing that. It was great. He did all the graphic work and everything else with that. Yeah, we forgot Amira, but I mean, it's Amira, but
It's gone anyways.
it's gone anyways. But I think things
Tim
like that
kills something else.
I think things like that really make a difference. And I think we're gonna come up with something else just to keep people active and keep people talking and sharing and liking. And I mean, we have a little bit more time on our hands with COVID, so we're gonna try to work on some more stuff like that.
It's good because I can actually use work time and not feel bad about it because I'm not getting paid anyways.
Government's paying you.
Oh man.
Hey, DV,
so-
if you had to challenge anybody, past, present, in your career, who would it be?
Challenge anybody?
Yeah.
Like-
Past, present.
It was like a one match.
For $1 million.
Oh,
who are you doing?
Cool. Whoa, boys. Probably Johnny. No, I don't know. Just because he worked with me.
I like that.
Well, you would
Right.
fire him if you lost, right?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't matter if he lost. Johnny would buy the business.
Yeah. Sure. $1 million, bud. I don't know, guys. That's one challenge. There's a lot of guys that I'd want to play, or I would still want to play. Right. I couldn't tell you one. There's a lot of guys. Of course, playing a guy like Bruce Mortar back in the day would have been awesome, right? In the match, playing Lynn Howell in the day would have been cool, right? Brian Goodhope, some of these guys got a lot of respect for the old timers that have been around and playing. Tom Patterson, right? Some of these guys, Blair Pizzies back in the day. I like the old school and like to have some matches there that would be fun to play. I don't know if I'd like the whole idea of doing a 3-game match because I'm not really good at those. I'd rather play somebody in a 10-game marathon, right? And just change my focus a bit because then I feel like I'd have a longer time of playing them, right? I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Have you guys been checking out any of Sean Wells' posts recently? He's been posting a bunch of CBC old videos, and it's been pretty fun watching some of those old school players.
There's a bucket list, Webbs. Is back in the day when they had the CBC and TSNs here at qualifying, I think there was 6 in a row that I was the next in line. I was 3rd place or 2nd place when they only took one guy. Like, Mark Jackson would win, and then Dale Lalemo. Remember Dale? Right? And there was 6 years in a row that I was the next guy going out of 50 or 60 guys. And Grady kept another 3rd place, bud. I'm like, yeah, way to go, right? So that would have been cool to play, in a match and on TV would have been a lot of fun, right?
Absolutely.
Someday. Just
It's
a
coming
different
back.
media.
It's coming back.
Yeah, just a different media. It's on YouTube now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
That is a constant conversation. I know there's a few cable cutters out there. Do you really see YouTube ever replacing national television? I can't see it. There's just too many.
For sports, I don't know, because honestly, the only reason that I have cable at all is for sports.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, and I haven't even turned on my TELUS TV since COVID happened because there's no sports. There's literally no reason for me to turn it on. Yeah. And I was at the point where when I moved into this place, I got a free year of internet and TV, and then it ran out, and I called them. I was like, hey, I want you to remove the TV and just keep the internet, because I was going to buy MLB TV and NHL TV and call her a day. And they just gave me a deal that I couldn't refuse, so I have it still. But otherwise, yeah, I would absolutely cut TV and just do the sports that way. So I could see.
I'm just thinking 50% of the population is 45 plus. I don't see my parents, I don't see any of my relatives that are over my age ever going and sitting down and watching YouTube over national television productions.
You got channels, you got shows like Forged in Fire, man, Deadliest Catch, Yukon Gold, like.
Exactly my point.
So
Yeah.
You can still find those online though.
Gary, you said 45, right?
It's all in one spot though, Dexter. Instead of having to pay for all these different subscriptions and jumping across all these different
Island of Brian. Come on, man.
Darrell is our prime logic right here. He is almost 45, right? So he's giving us the inside information here.
Tim,
yeah,
you remember getting chucked in a garbage can?
I don't remember.
I mean,
you're ways away here. You're ways away here, you pussy. So
yeah, anytime you want, I would still take your ass down in a pinch.
Okay, old man.
Yeah. What were you guys? 9 years old, 10 years old, and I'd be working there.
Yeah.
Sure bowl, and these little wise men punks come in flying in. Right? I think I grabbed both of you in one arm and chucked you both in a garbage can at the same time and put the lid on top of you. Right?
Yeah.
I'm making you do the vacuuming real early too, boys.
Yeah.
You need a big garbage can, though.
Yeah. It's a dumpster.
You two probably, I mean, aside from a few of the, old YBC guys, the Robert Parks and Scott Parsons, Scott Rice, right? Like, some of these guys, you two are the ones that I've known the longest, right? You're 10 years old. That's 30 something years that, we've been hanging out at Sure Bowl together. So
That's crazy.
It's home, right? Second home.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely right.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody got another topic they want to talk about? Oh.
You guys remember some of your favorite teams for the Open? And I know that's mostly WCBT, but the Open teams have been some good runs, right? You guys have all been to nationals and some of those. Do you still sort of have your top 3-4 teams that you've been on?
So I'll start because I know obviously I thought 2017 Open was the best team I've ever been on.
That national team,
man. Obviously 2010 I thought was really special. I mean, playing with Bruce and that.
Some of the guys, say some of the guys.
So 2017 we just kind of gelled really well. It was Adam, me, Sean Heller, Adam Kemp, Freddie, and Evan and Coach Mike. Funny story. Freddie texted me. We were out of beer out here, so he talked to the brewmaster for me this week. So, but that was a team that we were really close knit with. And then obviously 2010, I had Dex on it, one of our first nationals. Had Bruce on there, which is just amazing. Brett Mapstone, Sean Heller again. Lynn was our coach, and I think I'm missing one. Johnstone. Oh, whoops, Johnny. Yeah. Sorry, buddy. It's been irrelevant. Sorry, Johnstone. And then that was a really good team. And otherwise, those are the two really good teams. Obviously, won nationals last year. Different team altogether. It was a little bit different. But those are the two teams that really stand up for me. That
2010 for the Open was definitely, for me, one of my favorites for sure. It was like from start to finish, especially at nationals, it was absolutely hilarious. We were in Winnipeg. Mark was going for double gold. He was a single and on the team. We played an entire day down a man because this is when you could play. You'd have the teams play night one day. Morning the one day, and then you'd have the night off while the singles play, and then the singles would play in the morning the next day, and the teams would play at night. So you almost had a full 24 hours in between, sort of thing. So the one night we were in Winnipeg, and me and Brett Mapstone were drinking pretty hard in the casino because the casino was attached to the hotel, and we were having beer chugging contests, and apparently Brett doesn't drink very well. So we went to bed at like midnight, and we didn't have to play till 4 in the afternoon. So, okay, we got tons of time, right? We get up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I get out of my hotel room. Brett gets out of his hotel room at the same time, hammers me, and he goes, "Hey, man, what's up?" I'm like, "Hey, buddy, not much." He was like, "I'm still wasted," and I'm like, "What? You went to bed 10 hours ago?" So here we are. He has to go to the Mint with his family because the Mint is in Winnipeg, and that's a great family trip. So he goes and does that, comes back to bowl. We start bowling at like 3:30. That's when the hangover hits. Just a complete nightmare. His first like 4 practice balls were in like the right gutter, and then his first frame he went like right 2-pin, left 3-pin, right 2-pin through the hole, and Lynn subsequently pulled him and said, "You get out of here. You go for a walk. You do what you have to do to figure your shit out, and then come back here." And he came back like 3 games later, and it was honestly, it was so harmless, and I don't know how it went off the rails, but man, was it funny. And it's funny because we won, right? Like it's all good, but yeah, it was absolutely hilarious. That, and when we got into the champions room, Lynn was like, "Okay, guys, you got to be respectful. I don't want you guys to get completely wasted in here and then not be able to stand on the podium. So, have your drink or 2, but be respectful." So we're like, "Okay, sounds good, Lynn." Go in, we grab our 2 drinks, turn around, look at Lynn. He's got literally 5 Caesars sitting in front of him. All right, I guess we're going, Lynn. Yeah.
How about you, Weber?
You know what? I've been on a ton of amazing teams, but there's 2 that really stand out. That one in 17 with Timmy and was Sudbury, right, Timmy? For some reason, that team just gelled 100% the whole time. We'd get back to the dorms and not talk bowling. So it was just it was a pure experience. And then we get out there and we were phenomenal. And then we decided, at that point, Mike Lacusi is much better coach than a bowler. So, and he hasn't really done nothing since. So, and then my other probably favorite experience was probably the oddest team I've ever played on. Back in 2011, we ended up. I think we were down in Lethbridge that year, and that was the year that they made me choose. And I ended up, choosing the team for a number of reasons. But it was like the oddest team gel that was out there, and we went and ended up winning nationals with it. It was like me and Gombach and Stephen Lorisher and Mark Miller as a baby, and who else was on there? Colin Christensen and TJ Carrier. It was just such an odd team, but still end up making that decision because I had a lot of belief in the team as well, and then go and take it on, right? So those are probably the 2 experiences that probably mean a lot to me. Last year was incredible too. We go with that Edmonton team all the way through, and like probably the 4 big hitters at the time, and then we had Marciano and who's our 6th? Curtis Dunas, right? So phenomenal experience there as well. But
how about you, Kerry, down in Central? I mean, or the Masters for that matter?
No, probably the Open. Tim would know what year it was. Our team went, I think, 4-1 again, or 1-4 against Edmonton, but 4-1 against Calgary, and we end up winning out of provincials. And then we played unreal at nationals. We were locked going into the last day, I think, in the first position, and it was just a 1-game step ladder for us. We won, but that was Gino, Gary Baird, Victor Faubert, myself, Eric Chose,
Shelby.
And Shelby Crest, and our coach was Greg Giglick. Greg he said, "Well, thanks for picking me," because he said, "I'm not coaching at all." He said, "I'm just sitting back and watching." He could slap up any list we wanted up there. Lineup didn't matter. Cool. We played unreal. We just didn't match up well against Edmonton, which was weird, but we crushed Calgary, and then Calgary crushed Edmonton, so we came out ahead in the provincials. So
I've had a ton of fun over the years playing on all my teams, right? Like, honestly, probably the best experience is still the cool in my mind that I always remember is 2003 in Vancouver for nationals. It was Heritage, I think, for provincials, right? With Mark Jackson, Casey Campbell, Sean Smith, Mark Johnstone, and Jimmy Norcus. And it was just, I think I went 18-1 or something like that in provincials in 2 spot, and just it was just a dynamite. Everybody had a great time. We gelled so good. And then we went to nationals, and Johnny and I were pretty, rookie and green at the time, and come to the opening night, the Wednesday night, I think it would have been the opening tee type of thing. And it was kind of boring, and looking around, I'm like, well, this kind of sucks. So we went and got a volleyball, or we had a volleyball that we bought at the store. And of course, with a whole bunch of booze that we had bought, and we bought this volleyball. There was a Nike ball. So we ended up bringing Nick down to the banquet, and we started playing pepper in the middle of the tee. And people are looking around like, who the fuck are these guys? Right. And of course, we went on that weekend as cocky as could be and had a great weekend. We won nationals. We were, I think obviously there was the host rooms and the banquet room. You're selling the drinks for $8 or $9 a drink. But Johnny and I, green as could be, were like, well, let's just start running booze out of our room. So of course we filled up our bathtub full of booze and ice, and we had to go and shower in somebody else's room in the mornings, and we were running taps right at that time. And we're like, we're just the rookies on site. Like this, what's this 5-pin nationals all about? Playing volleyball in the hallway, and just we were up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning every night. Like, so I mean, that experience is pretty cool and sticks with me. There's I made nationals with a mixed team with Brad Asson and Brett Mapstone and some of the ladies, Katie and Michelle and Kristen, right? Like Casey was the coach there. So those are the memories that are cool, right? So remember your team stuff. I think everybody does. Winning singles is cool, but being part of a team is pretty neat, right? That's why it could be cool to run some team events, WCBT. Maybe there's some points you guys could do of your bakers or your trios or those things. Those can be some point systems on a team side. I don't know, right?
Yeah. There's been some talks about maybe doing a team event or including a doubles event inside of one of those tournaments. You have a separate doubles step ladder after everything from the qualifying or something like that. But that leads me into kind of a question. We had the inaugural Gallagher Cup last year, and you were one of the coaches for, unfortunately, the winning team.
Yeah.
How was that experience for you?
That was awesome. That was, I appreciate you guys for asking me to do that. I'm kind of in that middle ground, right? Like I haven't really bowled competitively for a while, but I've coached a few times. But I just, it's cool of you guys to want me to be there and ask me to be there with, the Lins. Who was the coach, Gigliak and Bruce, right?
And Bruce,
so,
yeah.
When you ask me to be part of those guys to coach with them, that thanks, right? Like, so it was super cool to be part of it. When I was sitting down the pitch and hanging out with you guys, it just sort of felt old, and that's why I wanted to be back this year and playing, and want to earn my stripes as a player and not just as a guy on the side. And I can talk my way out of a wet paper bag. So, it's cool to be back, and I appreciate that, right? So keep asking me to come, keep patting me on the back, and I'll keep playing. And old DB and Popeye and Skinny D and some of these guys.
We'll make sure to film the draft this year, so there's no shady stuff going on.
The KG Bowl, guys, when we go on singles tournaments to KG, I don't know the years, but there was 12 of us that would stay in that suite, right? Some of them guys, some nights got pretty, crazy. And we'd be playing poker at the big boardroom table, 12 of us. While I remember Gino trying to sleep right next to it, and he's in the qualifying the next day. We're like, we don't really give a shit, bud. we're playing, right? So
the Autumn Open back when it was in Toppler and we were all staying at the Econo Lodge. Do you remember us playing Pillow Fuck Face?
I remember who told you Pillow Fuck Face?
Yeah. Okay. No. Yeah. No. I realized, but see, I'm asking.
I'm the kingpin DB for a reason, because I started all this shit.
I'm asking if you remember playing it, because there's a difference. I remember
playing it with you, Dad.
Because we were in the hotel room. It was like 1 a.m, and you said we were going to play this, and I asked who you wanted to go first, and you told me.
Yeah.
So I hit you first, and then you went down, and then I buffaloed on a 40, and I went and did that, and I went back to get my turn, and you were like, no, you go first.
Wow.
I was like, oh shit, I hit him good.
You might have got lost in the bathroom.
That was in Ely's bathroom, yeah.
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 I don't even know what I was doing.
That was the time.
Okay, we're extending into 5-pin after dark here. right, guys, I think we're going to wrap this one up. You're more than welcome to stay after to have a talk, but I can't thank you guys enough for joining. I'm just going to move you to the waiting room, and we're going to run some quick ads here. Thanks again, DB, for being on.
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.